If you gonna be here and be in the then you gotta pick a side.
Now, a lot has changed since Leon and Wanda's time in Africa, where they learned a lot about history and even coming back as one by tying the knot, but neither of them had the welcoming home that they were hoping for from those they considered family. But this was an episode which brought to life a conversation between Leon and Harvey in season 5. Harvey opened up Leon's mind to venturing around the world and exploring places he's never been. Not necessarily to be a tourist, but to learn about those who defeated America when it wanted to dominate them.
Algeria, Somalia, and Nigeria aren't places for holidays. You can go to Vietnam, meet the people who defeated America when it wanted to dominate them.
Now, for Leon to have his own thoughts, he had to study everything and travel and actually meet and talk to people who fought against America and won. And that's one of the realizations him and Wanda spoke of when they were in Ghana. Do they stay and live their lives away from the dangers back home? Because every day at the projects is a battle. Every day with law enforcement is a war. Every day in the street game, there's bloodshed. Even with those who once sat around at a dinner table as family. This was one of the many reasons why Leon asked Wanda to go to Africa. He wanted out the game and to be a better person, with a game-changing moment for Leon coming when he killed Tiana. He's never been the same since. So Ghana was a trip full of love, laughter, marriage, education, seeing the other side of the world and coming to the realization he's contributed towards the war with his own people. Just like back in Africa, he realized that he's put the chains on the necks of his people back home. So now he wants to give back to the community that he feels responsible for breaking. But it really wasn't much of a welcoming home for Leon as well as Wanda. Now, we were reintroduced to Leon and Wanda in Africa, but they could never escape the errors of the past that must be corrected in order to re-establish the confidence of our people in a secure future. And there are a lot of wrongs that Leon now wants to correct, but despite him facing his own battles, you could tell Leon and Wanda could never have been happier. They could walk the streets without looking over their shoulders. They don't have to worry about law enforcement bursting into the projects and setting dogs on them. They were living their best life. For Wanda, she didn't want to go back to a place where she almost lost her life to crack. This was perfect for her. She was looking around and realized she was with her people who weren't at war with one another. They could be whoever they wanted to be and didn't need to let their past define their future. Now, even though Leon did feel free, this was too big of a decision for him, especially when they went to Elmina Castle, which was the first slave trade post built where foreigners from Europe started to buy their people. The tour guide explains how slavery evolved from the Europeans coming to exploit the continent, with 30,000 passing through Elmina each year, with the door of no return being their last sight. You could hear the screams, crying, and pain. But at the back end of this room was a beach, something Leon made reference to in the very first season of Snowfall. He'd never seen a beach. But the harsh reality of slavery and what Leon was doing back home at the projects started to hit home. He understood and he began to realize the crack that he was selling to his people was just as good as putting chains around their necks. This was a moment that hit home for both Leon and Wanda. They felt the stories that they heard and what they saw, which is why Wanda was even more sure that there was nothing left for her in America, and she was right. When Wanda did return home, her homecoming was as complex as Leon's. She showed up at her grandma's house bearing a gift from Africa, but she refused to let Wanda into the house and gave her a reminder of how she stole from her and all the abuse she suffered when Wanda was on the rock. Now, not only is this heartbreaking for Wanda, it shows us how the drugs affect not just those who are under the influence, but the lives of loved ones around them. Unfortunately, they also suffered. But this is also why Leon wanted to right some wrongs, but he couldn't go back and do this without Wanda, and so we did see them get married on the beach, one of the rare occasions Snowfall has given us a happy story when it comes to Wanda and Leon. Whether it stays that way, I think we've already seen some clues of how it could turn real ugly for both. Now, back at the projects, things were looking real different compared to when Leon left. Everybody was strapped up as if they were ready for war, because that's what was occurring while Leon was in Africa, and when he questioned Maurice, he said it was down to Franklin Saint. Leon learned that he stole from Jerome and Louis, with Jerome hitting back, and from then on, shit has been crazy. Jerome and Louis were attacked at their hotel, Franklin's place of business was hit by men in ski masks, and then Louis' club was hit in retaliation. Why Big Dion was involved was because Kane's guys killed one of his cousins at a barbershop. He then retaliated at a car wash, but the craziest thing that he heard is that Franklin Saint almost killed Big D while he was taking a shit. Now, Franklin only held back after the cops walked in, but Franklin did make sure his presence was heard, and this hate probably stems from Jerome killing Black Diamond after their drop. Now, Leon couldn't believe what he was hearing, and so his first visit was to Big D, where he learned about Franklin's money issue, where word on the street is he lost what he made, which is why he hit Jerome and Louis. he also passes the opportunity to work for Dion, and rightly so. Whether Dion proves to be a problem going forward, I think it is one to watch. Leon wants to do right by his people, but having innocent lives on the line because of gang violence and wars isn't keeping them safe. But one way which he can keep people safe is something that Wanda did mention to Leon, with how he could help bring back Alton's homeless shelter. So let's see how Leon helps the community as well as his family. Now his second visit was to Jerome and Louis, who he does consider family, but just like everybody else, they've got bodyguards at every single turn because of the war with Franklin Saint, so they weren't leaving no stone unturned. Now Leon bought Jerome and Louis a wedding gift, but this conversation turned nasty pretty much instantly, and it was mainly down to Jerome, who didn't take too kindly to his quick exit to Africa. Louis made reference to how they were hit at their club while they were on their honeymoon at the hotel, with Franklin turning down Jerome when Sissy organized this sit down. But Leon couldn't just sit back and let this destroy their family, and I use the term their family because in my opinion, Leon is family. He always has been, despite what Jerome said. This was harsh from Jerome, and I don't think there was any need for it because all Leon was trying to do was mend a broken family. But you can't reignite a matchstick that's already been burned, and this family certainly is going up in flames. Now Leon's third visit was to Franklin Saint, where he learned about Jerome and Louis sending officers to Franklin's home with a warrant. But they weren't looking for a damn thing, they were just there to create some chaos. Now this is where Leon learned about Arvie's death, which was a death that hurt both of them. Arvie was someone who once gave advice to Leon and Franklin, and he was also the one who brought Franklin into the game, and you could see and feel the pain from both of them. Now in this conversation, Franklin does admit that he's not always done things the right way, but at this moment in time, he's got his back against the wall and he's up against it, and so if Leon was going to be there, then he needs to pick a side, otherwise take Wanda, get on a plane, and get out of here while he still can. So if I were in Leon's shoes, I think the second option sounds better than the first, but it's not that simple. As much as Jerome said he's not family, this is Leon's family, and I don't think he can just sit back and let them tear each other apart. But the decision that he has to make is a big one, because he's now not just making the decision for himself, he now has to think about his wife, Wanda. Now, as Leon was back in LA, Gustavo had his drop snapped by the DEA agent Marino, but watching the DEA was Ruben from the KGB, who wants to take down Teddy and blow up the CIA's operation. But as Gustavo and Teddy were heading to Costa Rica to get Arvie's final shipment of guns, he was under pressure to get some evidence. On the journey there, Gustavo's nervous, and he's been ever since he started working undercover, but it really is not going to get any easier for him, and you could sense how much pressure he does feel. Now, they intercepted the guns while killing some of the men who were dealing with the weapons, but that's not the major talking point when it comes to Teddy. This is. I'm not so sure how Teddy knew how to look in the screw, and neither do we know what was written on the piece of paper, but one thing he does know is, it was the Russians who were trying to blow up their whole operation. Now, we also saw another meeting between Veronique, Cassandra, and Franklin as she continues to help him get his money back, but after rewatching this episode for a second time before doing my review, I found it interesting how the camera panned to the mirror behind Franklin, as Cassandra thanks Franklin for bringing Veronique back into her life. Could this be symbolizing how Franklin may want to watch his back when it comes to Cassandra? After all, she is a con artist, and there is a lot of money at stake. But that's a breakdown of Snowfall Season 6, Episode 3, an episode where Leon returned home, but not exactly to the homecoming he would have hoped for, and neither did Wanda. He has a decision to make. He needs to pick a side, or take Wanda and get out of there before he gets caught in the crossfire. So what decision will Leon make? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section on all things Season 6, Episode 3. And of course, if you are new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Snowfall, BMF, and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.